I have taken what is possibly the least favorite part of your life, and I went ahead and put it into a video game. Alright guys, Jamal116 is back with another redstone creation. Now I'm going to get to that a bit early. This time the actual redstone is not really the important part of the video. I'm mainly just doing this as a test because my old computer kind of broke. And so I'm doing this to make sure my video recording and editing works pretty nicely, or at least semi-nicely, on the new computer. That being said, as well as part of the computer breaking, I did lose my redstone world, although I did have it backed up, except the backup was also kind of 3 weeks old from when the computer broke. So, yeah, I'm 3 weeks behind all my work, and I'm just starting now to catch up. But I will be there soon, hopefully. I'm going to do what I can, though. Anyways, today, as part of my test, I've got what you may have been able to guess is a Scantron. Now, if you don't know what that is, then you obviously haven't been in school very much recently, and depending on how old you are, you should feel ashamed of yourself. Now, if you don't know what a Scantron is, it's essentially a really easy way to take a multiple choice test. So, for instance, it just fill in the bubbles. So I can throw a snowball at the bubble here, and it will fill in the bubble. I can throw it again, and it will unfill my bubble. So, for instance, if I want to put in the correct answers, which I know because I made the test, are B, B, A, E, D. I missed. Oh, wait, no, I didn't miss. Okay. Anyways, you'll notice those are the correct answers. So, when I come down here to score my test, it gives me perfect score. Whoopee. Also clears my test. Now, this does not just follow a perfect percent formula. It follows a kind of strange one, honestly. So, for every correct answer, I get 20 points. So, BB, those two answers there gave me 40 points. Every answer left blank gives me 5 points. So, just doing nothing gives me 5 points. Every incorrect answer, or answer with 2 bubbles filled in, I'll put an incorrect one here, gives you 0 points. So, for instance, I have 5 points here and 40 points in these two for a grand total of 45 points. So, when I click the button, come over here, 45 points. There you go. I don't really know what else I can say here. Anyways, because of the weird formula, notice that putting in nothing and pressing the button will give you 25 points on its own. So, you're not a total failure if you just do nothing, I guess. Anyways, part of the weird formula was because this was originally made for a redstone contest online. Now, because of the inopportune time my computer broke, I kind of wasn't able to submit on time and ended up getting eliminated from the competition. However, it's no big deal because they're having another one, like, really soon, and I'll just do that one. Anyways, moving on, let's explain how the other part, real quick. Part of the competition was that for this build, we weren't allowed to use the scoreboard at all. So this entire build, you'll notice throughout the whole thing, is completely scoreboardless. If that's really a thing, a word. Let's just move on. As for the redstone, it works pretty simply. There's a command block clock over here doing 2 things. A, an execute command that whenever a snowball is 1 block above the board, it will run a set block command as that snowball in the same X and Y coordinates at level 9, placing a redstone block. That means that it places one right below here, as you can see by the multitude of redstone blocks around here. Now, the other thing it's doing is it's using a fill command to fill everything over a piece of redstone dust. I just put in the coordinates, and that fills it to air. So it clears out the mechanism, allowing it to be another block there. Now, once a redstone block is placed over a piece of redstone dust, 2 test for block commands happens. This one over here on the far end tests for if there's wool above it. This one that's on tests for if there's stained clay above it. Now, if there's stained clay above it, it uses a copy command to copy the A here and put it up there. You'll notice this one is B, this one is C. I don't think I really did tell you what the other two are. The other one, if there was wool above it, then it just uses a fill command to put stained clay up here. Nothing really much to it. Anyways, that goes all the way through. The other thing you'll notice is that when I fill this bubble in, this block here becomes orange wool. When I fill it off, or I guess unfill it, yeah, that becomes stone. That becomes important for the reset mechanism later, but it's not really important right now. Anyways, you'll also notice that next to each set of redstone dust are these two blocks. The bottom row, you'll notice all the way across, is all white, and the top row has the correct answers in it. So you'll notice the one here is B, B, A, E, D in stained clay blocks. That is also part of the scoring system. It will come in later, which I'm actually going to explain right now. So scoring system works pretty simply. First, there's a test for block with this row here to test for the bottom row, which, if you'll remember, are all white wool. It tested against this corner here, which you'll notice are all white wool. If it matches up and the entire thing is white wool, meaning you put in nothing, the question was left blank, this command block will activate. This one scans on the row above, which tests for the right answer, which you'll notice that once again that corner block right there becomes stained clay when you have it bubbled in, meaning if you have it bubbled in and it's correct, then that top row will activate, these ones here. Now, the actual counting mechanism is where things get kind of weird. So I'm going to handle one thing that might trip you up first. Is most people typically believe that redstone has a limit of 15 signal strength. Now this is kind of half true. Redstone dust does have a signal strength limit of 15. However, comparators have a much higher limit. I believe the actual number is somewhere around 32,000, somewhere around that area. It's probably some significant binary bit, -1, if I had to guess, but I don't actually know the number off the top of my head. Just know it's around 32,000. Now, I've actually used that to my advantage. In this case, I've only used it up to 100, which is the maximum score. But you can really use it for anything up to that point, I guess, if you want, for whatever reason, really. So what I've done is I've used a block data command, which alters the success count of a command block to whatever number I want. In this case, I did it with 20, which means that that command in particular fills this row of command blocks here, so that they output a signal strength through a comparator of 20. This command block, even though there's no command in it, is outputting a signal strength of 100. So that means that I do 100 minus 20 minus 20 minus 20. I do that 5 times until eventually I get down to 0. Now the way the scoring is done is that if it's a tie here, first thing it does is it sets the command block right here back to 0, meaning they can be used again because that comparator is off. The other thing it does is this command block here sets the success count of this command block to 15. It was 20 before, it's 15 now, meaning that because it's an inverted with a subtraction comparator, it essentially is adding 5 to your score. Just like if it's correct answer, it sets it to 0, meaning it's essentially adding 20 to your score. Once it goes through that with 5 questions, that makes this comparator right here output whatever your final score is. Now, you might think you can just plug that into a signal strength decoder, and typically I'd say you're right. However, remember, this signal strength goes up to 100, redstone dust is limited to 15, so I kinda had to get creative from this point. Essentially what I did then is every comparator here, you'll notice, subtracts 10, and every time an output goes through, that means that there's still more than 10 left over, because if you were able to subtract 10 and have something left, then you had more than 10 to begin with. So it logs it in here with this piece of redstone dust, or these two that are off, as saying, hey, there's enough to make this many 10s. Now the other thing that happens is when it logs saying that there's something left over after you subtract 10, the first thing it goes down is this command block activates, which turns this block into a stone slab, meaning that the redstone dust can't carry a signal to the comparator below. Now the significance of this comes in because every single one of these comparators has an output to the bottom. Now what this does is that after you subtract 10, if there's no output out of it, what it will do is it will go to the comparator behind it, because if you subtract 10 and got 0, then you had 10 or less, meaning that at that point, you have a digit in the ones place. So it goes to the comparator behind it before you subtracted 10, takes the signal strength output, which in this case is right here, and is 5. So that 5 comes out through here, follows this line, out to the ones place, which you'll notice is 5. The other ones are being outputs of something greater than 5. They're usually around 15, although they could be anything. They could be an 11 or a 12, whatever. But because they are on a stone slab, they are not being let through. You'll notice these comparators are off completely. So that's how the ones place works, as well as the tens place. Then I just had to get a special case for the 100, because it's the maximum number this counter can handle, and that's always grounds for a special case. And that just 100 is a special number, I guess. It gets the special treatment. But that's essentially how the entire thing works. The only thing left is the reset mechanism. Now remember before how when I do this, oh, it's starting to lag. This will be fun. Yep. Okay. So if you'll remember, once my computer catches up with me, that, yeah, when this goes on here, this becomes a piece of orange wool. This might be entertaining because now I'm running at a slow enough ticks per second that you might actually be able to see this happen. And when I push this button here, this command block is a fill command. Oh, well, it's sped up a little bit, but essentially that fill command runs on this entire layer here. You can see it in the chat there now when it decides to catch up with me. It runs up this entire layer and it replaces every piece of orange wool with a redstone block. This means that the only time an orange wool is on is when this block here is set to on or filled in. You'll notice that becomes a block of orange wool. That way when you press the button, we might be able to see it happen. Once it catches up, you'll see this replaced with a piece of a redstone block, which turns on this redstone wire, activates the two test for block commands, and puts on the wool again. So that is essentially how this works. I think I pretty much covered everything in this go, and I think that's all there is to it. So if you enjoyed, leave a like and a comment down below, let me know, and other than that, I think that's all. So until next time, this is Jamal116, signing out.